Got to catch my breath. On one of the most unforgettable nights in Knicks history, um, a young man, because he's still young, that will undoubtedly go down as one of the greatest players in Knicks history, gave us one of the best performances in Knicks history. And the fact that it comes in a loss is just about the most unfortunate thing that I could possibly fathom. I frankly don't have the words right now. I'm exhausted because I'm sure, like a lot of people watching this, from about the middle of the fourth quarter, beginning like about the 7-8 minute mark, whatever it was, I stood up and I was pacing, and I did not sit down until just about 2 minutes ago, and I couldn't because, and I said something similar after the Pacers game earlier this year, when Jalen Brunson gave a performance that brought himself to tears and many of us to tears, including me. I could not remember another game where I wanted it more, not for myself or for, any of us, but for him. And this game tonight was like that feeling, like exponentially so. Um, you cannot do more on a basketball court. You cannot give more of yourself in an athletic feat. You can't care more. You can't try more. I mean, what Jalen Brunson did tonight is the stuff of legends. And it, like, if you watch the game on MSG, like I was trying to write them all down. Like Mike Breen kept trying to find new ways to describe what he was seeing. Like in the third quarter, he pulled out the Brunson burner is lit right now, and then in the fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson, the gift that keeps on giving, and then I think it was after it was after the jump ball violation. What a ridiculous call. Um, Said that Jalen Brunson's the type of player that made us fall in love with basketball. And he said that to his broadcasting partner, Clyde Frazier, who, of course, turned 79 years old today. Happy birthday, Clyde. Sorry they couldn't get you a win. Clyde Frazier, your mileage may vary on who the greatest Knick in history is. I think there's good arguments for him. I think there's arguments for Patrick. And I know a lot of the old heads who witnessed the championship years will go down saying it's Willis. But Clyde's up there. He's very high up there. And I thought it was so appropriate for Jalen Brunson to do what he did tonight in front of what has been the greatest point guard in Knicks history on his birthday. And to, like, that's Clyde level stuff that we saw tonight. That's, he did it in San Antonio, a place that has been known for championships as much as any franchise over the last 25 years. That's championship level stuff. And again, it's like, what is it? It's March 29th. It's game 73. Like, this team has done everything that's asked of it and more, when I think a lot of teams, given the injuries that they faced over the last several months, would have gone away and they would have like petered out, but there is something special about this team. And I understand that I'm saying this on a night when the reason they lost is because they ran out of gas. And the reason they ran out of gas is because they had to expend so much energy to come back, because they did not come out of the gate with the proper, proper of like oomph, what is necessary to face off against a Spurs team that seems to want to skip the usual steps that come with drafting a player of this ilk. And like, hats off to Wemby. I think he's. I saw somebody tweet out before he's the first rookie since Shaq to get 40 and 20. I mean, that guy's going to run the league for years, and I think tonight was probably will probably go down as the defining performance of his rookie season, which is also the other unfortunate part about tonight. Not only that the Knicks lost, Jalen Brunson put up 61 points in a game that will not be remembered for Jalen Brunson's 61 points. It'll be remembered for Wemby because not only did he get 40 and 20, but he made every big play. I mean, defensively, I don't know how many blocks he ended up with. It doesn't matter because he just changed the complete and total complexion of anything the Knicks hoped to do around the basket when he was in the game. The best one-on-one battle. I know one guy's, 6 foot nothing and the other guy's like 8 feet tall. That's as good a one-on-one battle as I've ever seen as a Knicks fan. Because neither guy backed down. And both guys made big shot after big shot. And unfortunately for the Knicks, not a whole lot of big shots were made tonight by anyone outside of Jalen Brunson. I know, like, he took 47 shots. The next most shots were taken by DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, but like, I frankly didn't think anybody else really had it, And Jalen Brunson did what Jalen Brunson needed to do to get them back in that game, and he almost pulled it out on his shoulders. He almost pulled it out by himself, and it is, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that it's going to come in a loss. It seems trite to refer to the larger picture after a game like that, because a game like that deserves to be evaluated and appreciated on its merits. A performance like that, certainly it deserves to be evaluated and appreciated on its merits outside of anything else. But like, the Knicks are involved in a playoff race. They lose a game that they quote unquote should have won. I've been circling these 4 games for months in my head, quite literally, because I feel like the most dangerous thing in sports is the game you're supposed to win. And the Knicks I believe, went into tonight as the only team in the entire NBA that, if you look at the teams with the 8 worst records in the league, they were the only team going into tonight, I'm pretty sure, that had beaten every one of those teams that they had played thus far. And they only had 2 left tonight and the penultimate game of the season against Brooklyn. And it's a lot. It's like, it's hard. It's unreasonable to ask a team to win over the course of 82 games every single game that they're supposed to win, because it requires so much. It requires them to come out with the requisite effort in every one of those games. And it requires the other team that they're playing to come out and be their usual bad selves. And the Spurs did not come out tonight and be their usual bad selves. I know they have whatever they have, 16 wins or whatever it is. But that team came out like a team that meant business. And like, they were good. Like, they hit their shots in the first half. Like, you go up by 21, and that's a big freaking hill to climb when you combine it with the fact that the Knicks came out at, like, I don't know, 80-85% speed. It was too much to overcome, and it got them in the hole that it got them in, and they ran out of gas ultimately. But it should not diminish one iota what we saw. And if we are going to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, I've said versions of what I'm about to say a half dozen times over the course of this year. And I feel like there's still doubt around the league. Yeah, and you know how I know that, and I'm going to reference this stupid, ridiculous thing, and I hate that I'm going to reference this because it gives credence to something that does not deserve to have credence. And I'm usually pretty good about ignoring this shit, but it is so telling that in a season where, by any conceivable metric, eye test, like team performance, advanced metrics, counting stats, anything you want to look at, Jalen Brunson has been at worst, one of the 6 most important contributors to winning in the entire league. And by saying top 6, I might be sliding him, but you want to go top 5, whatever. He's in the top tier. He's not in the second tier. He's in the top tier. And what I keep saying, and I'll say it again, there cannot be any doubt anymore about what tier he's in league wide. He's one of the 5 best offensive players in basketball. And I understand you look at it and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute to say that a guy that is his size, that doesn't really, like, he's God knows he's come a long way. He hit a bunch tonight, but like doesn't have Steph Curry's range, can be one of the 5 most dangerous offensive players in basketball. When you compare him to someone like Kevin Durant, who is like God made a perfect offensive basketball player, and yet if you compare them on their merits this season, and I'm not calling out Kevin Durant specifically, but just put any of the typical guys that come up in these sorts of conversations. When you compare him against all of these guys on their merits this season, he's going to come out on top against a hell of a lot of them. Like, yeah, Jokic is number 1. Doncic is right there. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has had a phenomenal year. And yet, Brunson's right there with SGA. I'm sorry, he is. He is. When you look at the team that dude has had, because they've been remarkably healthy throughout the year, versus the team that Brunson has. Again, this is not to diminish, the Josh Harts and Dante DiVincenzo's and of the world, but what he has done in putting this team on his shoulders and leading them to the record that he has led them to over the last 2+ months is insanity. The Knicks have not had a player you could count the amount of players like this they've had in their history on one hand. And you can count the amount of players in the league of this caliber on one hand right now. I hope, if there's anybody else out there that needed reaffirmation of what we are witnessing, of what this player means to this franchise, and obviously most importantly, what this player is capable of doing, in terms of being the number 1 scorer on a team that has championship aspirations, like, there can't be any doubt anymore. And I didn't even mention the thing that I was going to reference, this stupid MVP ladder that the NBA.com puts out every week. Like, that doesn't, I think it came out today or yesterday or whatever. It still doesn't have Jalen Brunson in the top 10. It's like comical. It's comical. It's funny. But keeps adding fuel to the fire. And the dude put up 61 tonight, and he's not going to care. Like, he's not going to care. He's going to stand by his locker if he hasn't already when the microphones go in front of him, and he is going to be dejected. And that's genuine. That's not an act. That's real. And you know what? So is everybody in that locker room. They're not going to be happy for him because they know that he doesn't care. Because all they care about is winning. Like, you saw the reactions from the bench on that turnover at the end of the game when Precious got the rebound and tried to throw it too fast to DiVincenzo, and DiVincenzo couldn't handle it. It's a lot of frustrating plays in that overtime. I mean, I think half a dozen plays in that overtime between the jump ball violation. How many times did the Knicks miss shots like appropriate with Easter on Sunday? How many bunnies the Knicks missed tonight? I lost count. So like all of that was frustrating. And that's the worst part of it, is like that we have to associate the word frustrating with this freaking game. There's other stuff that deserves to be talked about other than Brunson. Definitely the most frustrating bench performance, certainly of the year, if not in years, plural. I'll tell you who I wouldn't want to be tonight. I wouldn't want to be, I don't, it's unfair to call any one player out because I think that was a collective effort by the bench there in the beginning of the fourth quarter. I mean, when you look, just look at the plus minus. And this is a little unfair because it falls all on Precious. Minus 30 in 16 minutes. Minus 30 in 16 minutes. Bogdanović minus 16 in 15 minutes. And he gamed it out. He battled towards the end there on limping around, did come up with a big tip in. And I'm not calling him out for effort. God knows I'm not calling him out for effort. He's out there as a second game back. But I have to say, there was a big drop off in this game anytime Mitch was on the court and Isaiah Hartenstein wasn't. And it was noticeable. And Hartenstein fouled out. The fact that they got into the penalty, and again, this is the bench's fault. The fact that they put the Knicks in the penalty so early in the quarter that got the Spurs on the line, helped contributed to the Spurs shooting a total of 32 free throws tonight to the Knicks 12. You want to talk to me about the refs? All right, sure, whatever. But that bench performance was, it was abhorrent. And it's a real freaking shame that unfortunately, for all the things that have gone right and for all the things that this front office has done, brilliantly, including getting Jalen Brunson, getting Isaiah Hartenstein, and getting all these guys who have put together the season. The one miss that, it's not one miss. They've had two misses. They've had two significant misses, non-draft related, in their time running the team, and one directly led to the other, because the first miss was Fournier, and then they felt pretty strongly that they needed to turn the Fournier salary into something that could be useful to them, especially knowing that they would probably need to pick up the option for next year for salary cap purposes and the whole thing. And so what did they turn it into? They turned it into Bogdanovic. Was Bogdanovic or Burks a perfect fit for this team? I thought they'd be a much better fit than they were, and he's not watching tonight. He'll maybe see it tomorrow or hear it tomorrow. But man, was I wrong on Bogdanovic? Oh boy, that dude is just, it ain't great right now, and that's a big miss, because and again, I don't want to put it all on him. It was not all on him, but you needed more tonight. You needed someone else to step up in the minutes that Brunson was off the court. The numbers are what the numbers are. Jalen Brunson plus 20 in a game they lost by 4. Now, Josh Hart also plus 20. I don't want to diminish his contributions, but slight difference when one guy goes 4 for 13 and finishes with 12 points, and the other guy goes for 61, and their minutes obviously lined up a lot. But I thought Hart played well. You don't have to shoot well to play well. Josh Hart played very well. Oh man, that's fucking heartbreaker. An absolute heartbreaker. But it's not often you get to see that level of greatness. It's not often you get to see that level of greatness, and what we witnessed was as great a game as you will ever see. I will say now, and this is the last thing I'll say before we move on to the health check and the standings update. That is the greatest performance by a Knick that I have ever seen, in my opinion. Been watching this team for 30 years. Never seen anything like that. And I don't know if I ever will see anything like that again.